What's up, class? I'm Mowgli, and welcome to School University. This week we're gonna break down the history of social media. So let's get to it. It all started with the infamous BBS, which is short for Bulletin Board System. These online meeting places were independently produced hunks of code that allowed people to communicate with a central system where they could download files or games and post messages to other users. The first BBS, called the Computerized Bulletin Board System, or CBBS, was created in 1978 by Ward Christensen and Randy Seuss. Although ARPANET, or ARPANET, which essentially was the first internet service, was in operation at the time, but it was only restricted to institutions funded by the US Department of Defense. So essentially what that means is only the military could use the service. BBSs were accessed over telephone lines via a modem and were often run by hobbyists. Wow! Long distance calling rates usually applied for out-of-towners, so many bulletin boards were local-only affairs that in turn spawned local in-person gatherings. And badoom! Just like that, suddenly the antisocial had become social. Pretty freaking cool. Although primitive to us now, BBSs were the real deal, people. The technology of the time restricted the flexibility of these systems, and everyone's experience in the late 1980s would be 360 degrees different than ours now. Back then, you would have to suffer through text-only exchanges of data that crawled along at mind-numbingly slow speeds. But BBSs continued to gain popularity through the late 80s and well into the 90s when the internet started to gain serious traction. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about a little company called Compuserve, a service that began all the way back in the 70s as a business computer communication solution, but expanded in the late 1980s. Compuserve allowed its members to share files and access news and events. But, and here's the kicker, it offered true interaction for the first time ever. This is really the first time anyone in public had access to something like this. Not only could you send messages to a friend via an incredible new technology dubbed email, granted the concept of email wasn't exactly new at the time, though widespread public access to it was, you could also join any of Compuserve's thousands of discussion forums to gossip with thousands of other members on virtually any topic of the day. This platform proved to be extremely popular and paved the way for the modern iterations or newer versions of social media that we have today. See, this is why I love this show. I have been known to give my own family grief for using this service, but maybe we should back off just a little bit. In many ways, and for many people, AOL was the internet before the internet. Its member-created communities, complete with searchable member profiles in which users would list relevant details about themselves, was the service's most fascinating and forward-thinking feature, and actually helped kickstart social media into gear. Pretty cool. By the mid-1990s, social media was moving at light speed. Yahoo was starting to take off, and a little company by the name of Amazon, you may have heard of them, had just begun selling books. Plus, the race to get a PC in every household was on. And in 1995, a site that may have been the first to really fulfill the definition of social networking was born. Enter Classmates.com. So here's what made Classmates.com really stand out. Instead of asking who I can connect with, the founders asked, who can I connect with that was once a classmate of mine? Sound familiar? The idea of a virtual reunion proved to be extremely popular. The funny thing is, and this has changed now, early users could not create any type of profile, which must have made it extremely difficult to figure out who in the freaking world you were talking to. But what they could do eventually, after some research, was locate old school buddies, bullies, or even that girl you promised yourself you'd ask out and you never did. The world was your oyster, baby, and today Classmates.com has over 57 million accounts. Have you ever heard of 6degrees.com? Probably not, and that's okay. And yes, this site takes its name from the weird theory associated with Kevin Bacon's name. 6 degrees of separation is the theory that everyone and everything is 6 or fewer steps away by the way of introduction from any other person in the world. In fact, the developers pushed that idea so intensely on potential customers that it ended up being the site's downfall. Thus, 6 Degrees never saw the same success Classmates.com did or other social media sites, but it did give us a few nuggets of technology we still use today before it fizzled out. They became one of the very first sites to allow its users to create profiles, invite friends, organize the groups, and check out other people's profiles. So thank you, 6 Degrees. Technology is just a bunch of baby steps, isn't it? In 2002, social networking began to gain incredible popularity. The site leading the way was the ever so popular Friendster. That's right, class. Friendster snagged the degree of separation theory from the now defunct 6degrees.com and improved on it tenfold. It became known as the Circle of Friends theory, more or less, and promoted the idea that a rich online community can exist only between people who truly have something in common. So now you can find people more suited to your personality. What a concept. 2003! This year brought even more excitement with social networking and spawned 2 of the most important social media sites we have today. Can you take a guess what they are? I'll give you a few seconds. LinkedIn and Myspace. And how many of you think Myspace is still operational, huh? If you said no, then you are wrong, my friend. The once ubiquitous social network was bought by Time Inc. to help the magazine publisher target ads. What? Crazy. LinkedIn, of course, is now known and has actually always been known as a networking resource for business professionals and amateurs alike who want to connect with other professionals and amateurs. LinkedIn decided to take a much more serious and business-oriented approach to social media, and boy, has it paid off! Ready for this? The company's website is translated in over 24 languages. Professionals are signing up to join LinkedIn at a rate of more than 2 members per second. There are more than 40 million students and recent college graduates on LinkedIn, which makes them LinkedIn's fastest growing demographic. And LinkedIn now boasts over 450 million customers worldwide. Woo! Then we have good old MySpace. MySpace was truly the precursor to Facebook, as it was the favorite means of social media for many people for many years. I remember when I had my first MySpace account, I would constantly hit that little refresh button up at the top just to see if I had a new message. Thrilling! MySpace, of course, is not what it was once today, but when it was in its heyday, MySpace had a user count the size of Texas. It really was an innovation. The site allowed you to customize your page with photos, music, art, and any other ways of expressing yourself digitally. It just looked a lot cooler and was way easier to use than Friendster. And yes, MySpace is still alive and kicking today thanks to Time Inc. as a music hub. In fact, and this blew my topper off, MySpace still has 13,000 songs uploaded to it daily, with 14.2 million artists on it and over 53 million songs. What? I thought MySpace was dead. Twitter, as I'm sure you already know, is an online social networking service that allows people to send and read short 140-character messages called tweets. This was truly a game changer, as people could now update their daily life activities via social media in real time. Twitter rapidly gained worldwide popularity, with more than 100 million users posting 340 million tweets a day. The service also handles over 1.6 billion search queries a day. In 2013, it was one of the 10 most top visited websites in the world. And as of March 2016, Twitter has more than 310 million monthly active users. Guess where we're going next, baby? That's right, my university disciples. Boom! The one, the only, Facebook! Zuckerberg is a genius, and it's the reason Facebook continues to be at the forefront of social media and cutting-edge technology today. The 2007 launch of the Facebook platform was key to its success. The Open API, what's API, or Application Program Interface, made it possible for third-party developers to create applications that work within Facebook itself. Almost immediately after being released, the platform gained an incredible amount of attention. At one point in time, Facebook had hundreds of thousands of apps built on the platform, which nearly crashed the site. So they launched the Facebook App Store just to organize and display them all. How cool is that? Facebook's other call to fame is the like button, which broke free from the site and began appearing all over the internet. Now you can like or tweet even when you're not on Facebook or Twitter. Okay, now that that's out of the way, Facebook stats, baby, and these are pretty mind-blowing. Worldwide, there are over 1.7 billion monthly active Facebook users. About 4.5 billion likes are generated a day, and about 1.3 billion people log on to Facebook every single day. There are just about 1.57 billion mobile active users, and here's a fun one for you guys. 5 new profiles are created every second on Facebook. My God! And while all of this was happening, in between 2010 and 2014, smartphones and tablets started taking over the main form of computing. Instead of sitting at your desk all day on the internet, you could do it anywhere. I remember that day. It was one of the best days of my life. Once people had this fourth screen option, social media apps boomed. Between that time, the world was introduced to Instagram, Snapchat, Foursquare, Tinder, Pinterest, MeetMe, Bebo, PeopleJar, TagWorld, Gather, Togetherville, Scuttlepad, Everloop, PeerIndex, Hubbub, Glogster, Path, Noteleaf. The list goes on. And of course, I can't cover all of those, but let's cover the top 2. Instagram really changed the game because you could just share photos now. It brought a completely different feel to social media, a very real and touching look into people's lives expressed through art. Recently, Instagram has also added a video feature, which is freaking fantastic. The service rapidly gained popularity with over 100 million active users as of April 2012 and over 300 million users as of December 2014. Instagram was acquired by Facebook in April 2012 for stock and about $1 billion in cash, because you know we all have that laying around. In 2013, Instagram grew by 23%, while Facebook, their parent company, only grew by 3%. Wow! Fun fact here, from 2010 to 2014, Instagram stored more than 20 billion images for its users. Unbelievable! on to Snapchat, which turned the pages with video messaging. And magically, they disappeared right after you watched them, which added a ton of appeal to the app. Snapchat evolved into a mix of private messaging and public content, including brand networks, publications, and live events such as sports and music. Interestingly, 71% of Snapchat users said that they preferred the app for its chat, messaging, and imaging services, while 5% almost exclusively chose the various events, brands, features, and celebrity content on a daily basis. 24% said that they access all features equally, like Sweden. In May 2012, 25 images were being sent per second, and as of November 2012, users had shared over 1 billion photos on the Snapchat app, with 20 million photos being shared per day. Holy moly! Thanks so much for watching, guys. I know you may have a few questions about the topic I just talked about. If so, leave a comment down below and I will get back to you quickly. As always, check back every Thursday as we do a brand new video exploring the wonders of our universe. And please do not forget to subscribe.